we are doing an overhaul of my studio and office to make the space more intentional because I have quite a bit of real estate in here that I can use that I'm not using as well as I could, and there are a lot of things that just aren't working for me. So let's get into everything. Okay, so this is the mess that we're currently working with and getting into. It's quite the chaotic little thing we've got going here, and that's just not working for me anymore. So we're gonna fix it right now. All right, I wanted to start by changing the positioning of my desk. You'll see that I had to clear away quite a bit of debris because I let my office slash studio get way worse than I intended and way worse than I usually let it get. Because number one, I got busy, and number two, sometimes you can't always get it exactly right, and that is my cleaning schedule. Usually I do it every Friday, but like I said, I got really busy. So, my intentional design for this office side of the studio is putting my desk so that it faces the window because I want to actually use the giant walking pad that you saw me use. Introduction for the kitty. Her name is Harmony. And I'm more likely to use it if I'm looking outside this big, beautiful window while I'm working. And that has multiple purposes. Firstly, I get to look outside and see the gorgeousness and have the sun on my skin all day while I'm working. And it'll also make working more interesting and it'll make me more likely to use my walking pad. So, win on all three areas. I had to readjust my blinds, which is what you saw me doing there, and clean out the craziness of that corner because my desk was there. It got really, really dusty. Next, I decided to tackle what's on my shelf, and you can't really see it in the video right now, but there was just a ton of piles, receipts, papers, wedding miscellaneous papers and stickers, all things that are needed and necessary, but all things that could probably go in a spot. So, this is me finding a spot for them and making it so that the first shelf that I see when I open the door to my office and studio space isn't giving me anxiety because it's super chaotic. And honestly, just like the stack of papers on my printer, everything has a place and it shouldn't be right there in a stack. Did I move this shelf exactly 5 centimeters to put it right back where it was? Yep, but it's one less piece of furniture that I have to move for this overhaul, and it actually turned out to be quite good where it is. Anywho, right now I actually got a message from one of my clients because I was doing this during work hours. I finished all my tasks early for the day until my client messaged me. So while I'm fixing up my clients, I'll show you my initial plan for the design space. It's super quick, and we'll go over it and discuss it. So here you can see the idea of where I wanted this office overhaul to look like. You can see that I've already ignored one of the things that I initially planned. And that being said, the first art shelf by the door was supposed to move and I didn't move it, but that's okay because it's good where it is. So I ended up actually ignoring a lot of this image, but this was the plan that I had in mind when I was at this phase. And while I do believe that a messy studio is indicative of a very busy artist, I don't necessarily think that the studio should be messy because my messy space means that I'm overwhelmed and I'm tripping over things. And there's a huge pile of wedding stuff in the corner that you saw earlier in the video that was really stressing me out because those projects are either in progress or complete, but they're a big pile that takes up a lot of space that dominates the entire studio space. So, as you can see here, I am now at the point where I'm finishing up the organization of this shelf and making it clear and tidy, among many other things, to make sure that I don't leave space for me to pile things in the future. Because if there is an open space where there is free shelving, I know myself and I know I'm just going to put a pile of things there. So, part of this intentional overhaul is making sure that I don't leave space to have the clutter grow right back. While this is a studio and office overhaul, I don't want to spend all my time focusing on the time that I spent in the studio. So, I'm going to buzz right by this and put this on extra speed. And even though you are looking at a moving space of my butt for quite a few seconds of this, You also see that I'm moving wood, I'm organizing my canvases, and my thought was, where do I put that wood? Because it doesn't really fit on the studio side of the room, but it's too big to just leave in a pile. So I did end up putting it in my office corner. But we are almost at the start where we can organize the office and studio space. And you can kind of see my wedding flower towers. That one's a little dilapidated because the inner tubing is a little bit broken, but I really wanted to make sure that that pile of wedding stuff was neat and not overwhelming. But now for the good stuff. We are getting to the studio space. I had an extra chair in my studio, but I decided that I didn't want two chairs because I want to intentionally be using my ergonomic office chair when I'm creating more because I have a bad back and bad joints. And I want to make sure that even though I'm pursuing my passion and my creative endeavors, I don't want to be putting my body at risk by contorting myself into weird body positions. So now I am removing a pile of supplies from the wall so that I can move the desk. And here I try to see if the desk would fit in the way that I drew it on my sticky note diagram. But quickly after moving it, I realized that that really truly wouldn't work, both for intentional office design and filming and just the way that I wanted to have the shelves. It just didn't look like it would work. So I just moved it back a little, but put it where it was. And then I decided that instead of having the art shelf on the wall behind me, I would try to put it beside me. So it's kind of in view when I'm filming and kind of easily accessible for when I'm doing my art. So instead of having to like get up and walk around my space, I can just reach off the shelf and grab the supplies I want, which is, I mean, a little bit lazy of me, but also when I'm in my creative groove, I don't want to have to like pause for anything. And same as my other shelf, this one has a bunch of piles of things. So I need to take everything off of it and overhaul this shelving unit as well. The structure of this shelf to make sense. So I put the things that I didn't use very much or don't use very much, like my Cricut, under the bottom shelf. And I put my extra canvases and paper supplies on the bottom shelf so that it's easily accessible when I need it, but it's not something that I grab all the time. And then I decided to make my supplies, my resin kits, my resin materials on the middle shelf so that it's again easily accessible for when I need it because I use it more often. And the higher on the shelf you get, the more relevant and the more frequently I use the material. So that's a fun little thing that I did. Another thing that was very important to me while I was doing this office overhaul, excuse me, office overhaul and studio redesign is lighting. Because as I've said in one of my previous videos, when I create my art, I do it with the viewer's lighting in mind. That means I need to create it under those circumstances. And with my desk in this spot, I can use my light in many different angles, regardless of what the piece is. And I have hiccups now, which is great for me. But this corner of my space has the best lighting from the natural window. It has the most opportunities to use my flexible light, and it also has that perfect blend because if I turn off the room lights and just use the window, it kind of simulates the normal standards that a viewer would have if they don't intentionally light the piece with a flexible light. And I don't really have much else to say on the fact, so I'm going to speed through the rest of this little over. Oh my gosh, these hiccups are bugging me. I'm going to speed through the rest of this overhaul video so that I can get to showing you the grand reveal because I'm very proud of the results and I can say that my office has been clean for about a week and the do not leave space for piles theory has worked really well because my office is still super clean. Anywho, I cannot wait to show you guys the finished product. And before I get to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.